prior support. Okay, we break in above prior support, which is now resistance on the way up. We break in and close above it, which turns it back into support, yet we had lower volume. When we look down, we had lower volume. Okay, so that tells us that we don't necessarily want to go long here. Okay, but now this next bar here turns red. Okay, so we would move our dynamic resistance level here. Okay, and now we look down here. Now we have a pivot bar that formed here, but once again, when we look at this pivot bar, okay, we come down and we have our rule of threes, because after the close of this bar, this third bar, we don't have a breakdown below our new dynamic support level. So we would anticipate price at least attempting to bounce back up, and then this would be our next resistance level here. Okay, but now let's talk about pre-pivot entries. And we talk about pivots, and pivots keep you safe because they confirm the turn. Once you see that red bar and we draw our new dynamic resistance level, okay, we have that red bar, we know the market wants to turn, and then we have this pivot here to confirm the turn. Now when we still put more of our rules together, we notice that, okay, after this pivot bar here, we on this third bar, okay, we have yet to have a pullback up to test the pivot point. So now once we start putting our concepts together here, okay, we've got our rule of threes failure, and I call it a failure because it failed to break support. So we have our rule of three failure, okay, and we have not risen back up to retest or test our pivot point. And like we always talk about, if a support or resistance level is untested, we don't really want to trust the move, and a pivot point is a level of support and resistance, because this is where the balance of supply and demand has changed. So it's a key point, and the market usually wants to test that pivot point, and we have not. So at this point, and this is the close of Friday the 4th, and so we would anticipate that the market would at least try and come back up on this pivot point. But since we failed on the rule of threes, we had a rule of three failure here, I would anticipate the market to at least come back up and test resistance. However, but keep in mind, it's like I always say, Sunday trading is tricky. Sunday trading is almost like news trading. And if you've noticed that many times on Sunday we'll have a gap open, either a gap up or a gap down. This is by design. This is designed to confuse traders. So that being said, what I expect the market to do, if it doesn't do that, know that if it doesn't do that, a big part of the reason would be because it's a Sunday, and Sunday no trend has been established for the week. It's kind of like on Sunday everybody resets, because traders don't like to hold positions over the weekend, because you never know what can happen over the weekend. There can be a war or something that starts, and when the market opens, a huge gap opens. So keep that in mind. But now let's talk about entries a little bit more. So now we come down, we draw our new dynamic support, our new dynamic support level once this green bar has formed. Okay, then we draw our new dynamic resistance level once this red bar has formed. Now ideally a pre-pivot entry is not bad, because it allows you to keep your stop level very, very tiny. pivot confirms direction, and so the next movements are more predictable, but a pre-pivot entry will keep your stops very, very small. For example, in this situation here, after this red bar formed, then bam, we draw our new dynamic resistance on the reaction. And remember, a reaction is the very next bar typically. Okay, we want that reaction, that first bar reaction, if it comes up to our new dynamic support resistance level, this is where we would want to enter short, and then we would want to place our mental stop, not a physical stop, because it's going to be a small stop, maybe like 5 pips above dynamic resistance. Okay, but in this case it didn't, so that was not an opportunity to do so. But now I'm running out of time on this section, and the next section, section 9, we'll pick up here, and I'll give you some benefits of the pre-pivot entry, and then we'll look at a few more examples of a pre-pivot entry. So I'm going to end this section, section 8, and we'll pick up on the next section, section 9.